Profile Professor Dr. Alexander Bull, Professor IU International University, Germany. His expertise include business strategy and organizational management, applied management research, innovation and enterprise development, international business perspective, academic leadership in business education. His topic is project management and interim management. Let us warmly welcome Professor Alexander Bull.
All right. I think now my microphone is working. Yeah, so you can hear me. Can somebody please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You
Okay,
are audible.
perfect. So now this is working. That's very good. Then I will be quickly sharing my screen. 1 second. So should be coming up now. Could you please also confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So, warm welcome also from my side. I'm very happy to participate on this conference, and I wish you all a good day here. And I have to say good morning, yeah, good day, good evening, and good night. Why is that? Because I'm actually making this meeting out of New Zealand, out of Auckland, New Zealand. So here it's past 1 a.m. in the morning, so very early. And but I'm still very happy to be here. And regarding the topic, it's pretty much regarding my research field, which is more or less in project management and related topics. And my professorship is also for project management and organizational development, so also related to that. So, and I will be telling you about the backgrounds here and, of course, let's say scientific perspectives, which are quite interesting. So let's get started. Let's see if it works getting the next slide. Yes. Okay. To start really quickly, we have the foundations of project management. We find a quick definition what it's about. It's of course the systematic planning, controlling and monitoring of projects. And we have of course a specified goal set or objectives about time, budget and quality. But of course, in this triangle, there are more topics which can occur, like communication, like maybe risks, or even sustainability are topics which can be related to these most important triangle topics which are listed here. Further, we see we have also some scientific models, and these models are related to the old, let's call it classical project management like waterfall, or we have like Prince2, we have Scrum, we have Six Sigma, more agile ways of working. Why is it important to have project management? We see that we have quite a number of like 11%, which has been found to poor project performance. Yeah. So that means we have some kind of project activities going on, but at least the discipline here is not as, let's say, active as necessary. And that's why lots of projects struggle. And if we look at numbers, like what are the reasons behind there, there's also a lot of content. And mainly it's also about, let's talk it in that way about the people, yeah, and how people are dealing with projects. And this is why also interim management comes into the game. What is interim management? It's basically defined as a time-limited deployment of highly experienced executive who are, let's say, not in a freelancer role, but they have a clearly defined mandate, yeah, with a certain authority, and it's related to fields as crisis, as restructuring, but also specifically towards project leadership. Yeah, that means the first role in projects is in many cases, especially for larger companies or larger projects, related to interim project managers. So why interim management in projects? What is the background of that? We know that it takes quite some time to fill C-level positions for like new projects, yeah, to getting people in. Then it takes quite some time to get them structured, like the onboarding phase, 30, 90 days. So you're losing months, not days, yeah. And last but not least, it's the long-term lock-in. So that means if you have somebody internally or on permanent contract, means of course you lose the flexibility. So these are also partly the advantages. Looking at the evidence from a scientific view, intermanagement also has some positive aspects regarding specialization in change. Yeah, we see that the change and transformation projects are very important, and these initiatives take, let's say, specialization, and interim management are trained on that. They are specialists on these cases. They are coming in from the outside, having an outside perspective on the company and dealing in a neutral way, which also helps regarding risks and the reduction of risks. And last but not least, of course, there's the possibility to align this with a PMO setup. That means program or project management office, depends on the size. Yeah, so it's like an internal consultancy, which can be also related to external colleagues being involved. But more or less, it's like, let's say, a good structure in getting an organization free, or the free, let's say, flexibility to create new content in certain projects. Then we're talking about key competencies of interim managers in projects. Yeah, so they are specialists. We heard already. So they have like some special cross-industry experience, which helps to judge on topics from an outer perspective. Yeah, they have the possibility to let's say more critical evaluate things, yeah, because they will not be punished forever like in the company in losing perspectives, because they are anyway just there for this one project, and their goal will be and should be only aligned on reaching the goals of the project. And last but not least, of course, communication and change expertise, which means all the stakeholder alignment and all the surroundings are very, let's say, difficult, because as you know, like organizations, they lack in changing attitudes. So that's why it's very important to have some person who is helping in engaging with all stakeholders and having a clear communication set, and of course a change strategy behind. If we look at intermanagement in action, what does it mean? Yeah, we see good aspects, or let's say cases and case studies in restructuring, yeah, of manufacturing companies. So by reducing costs, for example, yeah, through certain process optimization. We see the digital transformation regarding AI, also a good topic here to relate to, also with project tools. So like on other conferences, also regarding to this organization, I've been talking about AI possibilities here. And of course, these interim managers, they are or should be aware of the AI aspects and possibilities and aligning those towards the topics. So that means we also have the possibility to, let's build or call it building a bridge towards the executive management in a let's say, modern and long-lasting way for the company. So that's why it's also very helpful to use interim management from this perspective. If we look at challenges and limitations, we see interim management is very powerful, yeah, but of course there are also aspects which are like confronting, let's say, the maximization of success. This is on the one hand, of course, always the people. It's organizational acceptance. Yeah, there can be always some resistance. Yeah, there are some, let's say, trust issues regarding some external perspectives. And of course, there's the saying, and I think it's pretty much spread around the world, that people are, let's say, very skeptical towards changes regarding their daily work because they have been doing it from the beginning like that, and they don't want to change it. Yeah, so it's very about a strategy of communicating and persuading a new structural approach about the benefits and maybe also the storytelling to feel people. And that's a good, let's say, aspect regarding our former speaker. So that means it's very important to have the emotions, and once you have the emotions in this context, yeah, that means we can have a deeper feeling towards what is changing. And when we reach the emotions, it helps also to understand and to follow up and to really identify with the issues. So as Mrs. Nadine Senaun said, yeah, it's very important to have these emotional perspectives and also from a side of project management, especially the leading persons, and here as called them interim managers. And further topic is the transition and sustainability. It's always about lasting results, lasting challenges, and yeah, completing, let's say, all the requirements which are necessary. It's a complete process on development and hopefully long lasting. And most people forget that when a project is like coming to its end, yeah, we need to evaluate what has been done good, yeah, and some feedback slopes on, let's say, progression possibilities in the future. And of course, also talking about how to keep going in the acceptance and the usage of the new, whatever it is, IT tool or, let's say, organizational setup or customer projects. Yeah, as we know, there are also many different types of projects, and these are basically the typical ones I just named. And last but not least, it's the cost benefit balance. Yeah. Also, keep in mind that intermanagement is quite expensive. Yeah, an average rate is maybe around 1,000 euros, or let's say 1,500 US dollars, or here it is in pounds. So it's quite a rate. Yeah. And of course, it can be even higher. It's depending on the companies you're getting involved here. And this means we are, so let's see, there's a message. Genau, we see definitely the necessity for cost benefit, let's say, structuring process. So we need to see what are the benefits. We need to calculate and evaluate what are we getting out of this. And maybe from the beginning of such projects, yeah, it's very helpful to have somebody on board, or maybe the interim management at the beginning, and structuring the process and looking at the results we are expecting, because then we can evaluate on what is the goal, what is coming out of the project improvements, and then having an evaluation on what it is, like, let's say, worth paying the costs and the fees around the improvements. The next step is the future trends in projects and interim management. So as I said before, digital transformation is a primary topic here, I guess. And the next one is the AI power here regarding project controlling. New tools are coming up, especially regarding the whole organization of projects, the monitoring, and looking at risk closer. But of course, it means also a restructuring of the project management role, like what are the responsibilities and how are we working in the teams? What, let's say, aspects or qualifications are necessary by other members of the project. Yeah, as we know, projects are not only run by the project management, but also, of course, by the project team. And in bigger project, it can be quite a large number we're talking about. And so that's why we need to reshape the organizational structure regarding resources and, of course, artificial intelligence knowledge. Last but not least, hybrid engagement models. So that's combining interim leadership with agile project methodologies, what I've been talking about before. So it's regarding, let's say, a more flexible way of dealing here. We need new structures. Yeah, we need the flexibility to work, of course, on site, but also partly remote, yeah, in hybrid modes. So there are many things to, let's say, consider. But at the end, there's not one way. Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. It's not about we go in a classical way or an agile way or we go only interim or whatever. So the question is always like on how is your organization set up? What is your structure? Where are you heading to? Like what are your objectives as a company? What do you want to develop with the project? And then you need to set up your, let's say, set of methodology, like your suitcase of methods, your suitcase of proceedings, which will be fitting to your organization. That's very important. There is no standardized rule, and mostly it's like picking the best out of all the different, let's say, methodology issues. And last but not least, before coming to the questions, or the one question I read already, the key takeaways really quickly. Intermanagement is not a stopgap. It is a scientifically grounded, strategically valuable instrument, of course, for navigating complex projects. That means, of course, we have the possibility to outperform, let's say, special developments in projects, and of course, behind, yeah, further on. The evidence is here clear. We need to be also proactive in strategies regarding digital developments, AI possibilities, and of course, it's about all the difficult project environment, yeah, as they are mostly time critical. We have lots of stakeholders involved. We have quite some money to deal with, yeah. And further, it's also about, let's say, the strategic organization, the flexibility, and the sustainable developments within the organization and dealing with the topics. And last but not least, of course, using intermanagement when necessary. And of course, when the project and the companies allow it. As I said, it's not cheap. Yeah, it's quite an expensive way, but it can be very helpful with the outer perspective and the neutral proceedings head ahead to, let's say, the top management can be very helpful in difficult and larger projects. So that's it for now. Thank you very much so far. And I'm heading quickly to not losing the time and looking, of course, at my watch since it's getting now to 2 a.m. closely. I'm looking to the first question. It's from Dr. Kilari, and he asks, crisis fix in project management, how can I handle in real-world software projects? So if I understand the question correct, it's about software projects and crisis management, yeah. And so we see, of course, in software projects, pretty much agile set of methodology. That means we are looking at the background, at the basis of projects, because software projects were like the founding thing for the agile setup. And if we see like crisis issues, and I'm now maybe considering crisis issues from a company side, yeah, you have some bigger risks, some crisis coming up, yeah, regarding, let's say, financing problems or something similar. It's of course about transparency at first. It's about talking about the upcoming issues and the findings as early as possible, because the later you talk about these issues, the more difficult it will be to find solutions. And of course, the more difficult it will be to solve it in general. And in some cases, it might even lead to an, let's call it, break up of the project. Yeah, we have to cancel it. So that's why it's quite an important topic to be sure of upcoming risks, maybe even having a clear setup of risks and identifying those risks, and then finding, let's say, adopted solutions which are necessary for these outcomes. So I'm hoping I could answer the first question. I will try to go already to the next question by Guravu Gupta, and it is about hard constraints. If you had to choose which is more important right now, the launch date or the future completeness? Well, it's for me, let's say it's partly a mix. Yeah, let's consider both aspects in detail. If you look at the feature completeness, it's something which is pretty basic in project management that you should not go for the completeness of all features of all tasks. Yeah, you should work for like let's call it an 80% solution, yeah, also related maybe to Pareto or something. And you have the opportunity to testify on how you did on the project. So this would also help to stay in the timetable and launch on a, let's say, on the planned date. Yeah. So that means we don't want to go the 100% way directly from the beginning because if I look in customer projects, it's better to evaluate on an earlier stage and testify and so on how we did and use this as an earlier release date to get feedback and maybe to proceed afterwards, yeah, and define a new date, yeah. So this would be my answer, like on a very practical and business-wise way here. So then the question is, who's the primary stakeholders? Yeah. Are you dealing with an angry external client or an internal product owner? Of course, it depends. You have all kinds of stakeholders here, internally and externally. Like the usual setup internally are all related, let's say, column parties. Like it's the project management themselves, the project team, maybe the PMO, project management office, but also the steering committee who is like controlling, let's say, many projects and deciding on issues, how to keep going. And you need to report as a project manager towards the steering committee. And they are also able to decide on certain issues. But of course, on the external side, we have maybe also customers. Yeah, customer is a customer project. By the way, internally, for internal projects, the customer could be the, let's say, sponsor of the project or some department who's requesting the project. So this would be in totally internal side. But looking at external clients, of course, we also have, yeah, totally different setup. Yeah, it's more about the testifying and stuff, which I've been talking regarding the primer answer of the first question. I hope this is a quick and fulfilling answer of this question. And next one coming up is, what is the nature of the crisis? Yeah, is it a technical failure, system down, a timeline failure, or people failure? So this is of course related to the question or the first question, so it depends, of course, yeah. Regarding risk management, I can say we need to define as many categories as possible towards all directions which could occur as risks, yeah, and creating a crisis. So and then we need to find a way to deal with that. And if we look at technical failure, you might set up let's say, call it even a crisis team just for a project, just in finding a solution for these technical issues to get the system back up. Maybe you have a, let's say, hiding system behind where you're prepared for something like that because you're relying, or as a company, relying on your technical setup. So otherwise, you cannot keep going in production or whatever is your business. Regarding timeline failure, of course, it's always an issue. Yeah, it can always happen, especially if it's like state or government projects. Yeah, as I'm talking about, let's say, my home country, Germany, we have some big state issues regarding Berlin airport. Maybe you have heard they took quite much longer time to create this airport. or there's some other big train issues in Stuttgart, for example, which are more expensive. They are taking longer and stuff. But like state owned projects also have a different way of dealing with it regarding money, regarding, let's say, responsibility. It's a little different setup behind the pressure and so on, which is higher, of course, in private projects of private companies because they don't have money and time for like ever, yeah. Otherwise, their business will fail at some point. And last but not least, people failure. It's always about the people. It's always about the emotional intelligence here and involving people, feeling involved, what I've been telling before. So we could set up a totally interesting topic regarding storytelling. Maybe I should do that next time I'm invited here. So for the organization topic, you can remind me here. So storytelling and involving people and helping to make them understand. And if we have conflicts, we of course need to talk about these conflicts, find a solution in integrating them. But of course, there's sometimes also people you cannot help about because what will be happening, they're just against the project, yeah. And sometimes it's also smart if it's only a few, yeah, to work a little bit around them. And at the end, they will accept the change, yeah. But this is like the last strategy if there's no other way out, yeah. Usually you go for the integrating way and communication aspects. You also have the possibility to use many different communicative channels to improve, and then it would help to find a good solution for people understanding and proceeding within the topic. So I hope I could answer all the questions. And I'm very happy that there were directly questions without offering to answer questions. So I hope regarding the time, this is fine. So if there's any more questions, of course, you can reach out to me anytime using my name, LinkedIn, or the email you will find also very easily on the system. So thank you very much. Has been a pleasure. And yeah, I wish you all the best for the day. And yeah, lots of more interesting topics to coming up, I think. Thank you very much. And good night from New Zealand today.
Thank you so much for that knowledgeable presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.